Documenting Simple Living. Today I am going to take you along with me as I put together a small herb garden for our small backyard. My family and I live in the UK, and we live in a Victoria-era apartment. And what that means is that the space that we have is quite small, and we're actually lucky enough to have a small backyard, which is pretty rare in the UK when you live in an apartment. If you saw my recent video where I took you along with me as I cleaned up our small backyard for spring, you will know that the soil quality in our yard is pretty poor. That makes it difficult to grow things directly into the soil, and so I've been thinking about ways to have an herb garden, and was thinking about raised beds, and was thinking about just on the windowsill, but I thought that I wanted to have the herbs up high to avoid pests and predators, and I wanted to make sure that they would have lots of sunlight. We have this big sweeping butterfly bush that kind of umbrellas part of our yard, but it does shade out some of the soil, so it makes it hard to grow things in that space. So I finally came up with a solution, and I wanted to show you what that is in today's video. We have this fence that lines one side of the yard, and that is to block out the neighbor's window because they could look right into our yard without the fence. And what I thought I would do is hang some potted herbs from the fence, so they'll be up high and they will have direct sunlight for part of the day. The first thing I did to do this was to find the right kind of pots that I wanted to use to hang these herbs up. I was going to look for like terracotta pots, but then I was worried that they would be too heavy. And I also thought the clear pots would be a good option because my kids then could see the root systems develop, which might be an interesting sort of educational thing to show them. I also bought some herbs that had already started growing. I didn't really want to start from seed this year just to make things a bit faster. And I bought some rich compost to plant the herbs into. I also picked up some wire to hang the pots from the fence. I was going to use galvanized steel, but I just found this easier to bend material and decided to go with that because it would be a little bit faster. So all I did was replanted the herbs in these bigger pots that I bought. The next thing I did was tie the wire around each of the pots. This took a little bit of figuring out how best to do it, but I ended up settling on twisting the wire around each pot about 3 times and creating a little knot at the back that I could then loop over a nail and allow the pot to hang sort of at an angle, which will give the plant direct sunlight for part of the day. Tried to figure out where to hang them exactly on the fence. I thought I would do 2 layers, but then I was worried that the ones on top would shade out the ones on bottom, and so I finally settled on having them all in a straight row so they could all have equal sunshine. We'll have to see if that works. Some of them don't like as much direct sunlight, so if I notice anything is getting too much sun, I'll have to maybe move them around a bit. At first I tried using screws to hang these up, but I couldn't get them into the fence, so then I settled on just nailing a nail into the fence and hanging it on that way. Once I had all the nails into the fence, I just double checked that the wire around each pot had a little loop that was secure and looped the wire over each nail and hung up each pot. I think it's looking good. I think it'll look even better when I have another layer of herbs. And if I notice that maybe it's getting too much water, we get a lot of rain where we live, or too much sunshine, I might have to move them around to different spots within the yard. But for now, I'm excited to test this out and see how well they grow. I think it would look really nice to have 2 or 3 more layers of herbs going down. The reason I didn't do that initially is just because I was worried that they would be shaded out by the layer above. But I've been watching where the sun goes throughout the day, and I think that actually more layers would get plenty of sunshine in the later afternoon if I put a few more layers below this top layer. So if I do expand this, I will keep you updated. But for now, this is my small little herb garden for our backyard in a busy city. If you have any other suggestions for growing herbs in an urban environment, I would love to hear your recommendations. I've actually put out an open call for people to share their ideas of how to grow herbs and vegetables in cities to the Documenting Simple Living newsletter. It's less of a newsletter and more of a community of people sharing tips on how to live more simply in the modern world. And a lot of us are not owners of homesteads and property and acreage and animals because we live in big cities, so it's not as easy to do that. And if that sounds like something you might be interested in joining, the link to subscribe to that newsletter is in the description below. Thank you for stopping by today, and I will speak to you in the next Documenting Simple Living video.